what does it mean for a client who has a significant serious health problem, and they may have done what most folk do and taken their health problems to their local GP, and their GP does what they do, and then they do the best they can, and they might participate in the modern wonders of Western science and medicine and try what's offered. And if it fails, though, they could give up, or if they are switched on and turned on to the possibility of a better outcome elsewhere, they might come over to natural therapies and find their way around nutrition and acupuncture and osteopathy to finally perhaps meet a homeopath. Now, we're not so well known as naturopaths or some of those other words are, but how people find us is usually as a last resort, because they've been everywhere else, they've tried everything else, and if it hasn't worked, homeopathy has this niche. We help the most difficult clients. Clients say silly things to me like, Peter, if you don't help me, I've got one foot on a banana skin, I've got the other foot in a grave. If you're not helping me, I'm pushing up daisies real soon. So you got to help me. And that's my motivation, to pull out all the stops and try everything I know, and my attitude of why hold back? Try as hard as I can to make a difference in otherwise a difficult, complex client for whom most other folk who've tried and failed, and I get the breakthroughs. I don't fix everyone. I haven't got a 100% success rate. I'm not that good yet. I aspire to the future. I'll get better with more experience and my novel ideas, experimenting with those. But to see my outcomes compared to other practitioners of other modalities doing the best they can inspires me that I really have got something here. Homeopathy is an amazing tool, and my application to it, my devotion to it, has been a great reward for me and my clients and the profession. So even when I'm in an Uber chatting away to the driver, I say, in case you're interested, I'm a natural medicine practitioner specializing in homeopathy. And they say, oh, what's that? And I say, I help folk get better. And I say, look, if I never meet you again, I want you to know this one thing, that if there's anyone you love who's got a serious health problem and has not been helped by all the other choices that they've tried, consider seeing a natural medicine practitioner, consider seeing a homeopath, because we get good outcomes for the most difficult clients that may not have been helped by anyone else. And I go, oh yeah, my grandmama, she's got XYZ problem and none of those silly drugs work on her. I wonder if she could come and see you. Can you give me my business card? Have you got a business card? I give them my business card. And, a week later I get a phone call from grandmama saying, oh, my sonny, he drives and he said, come and see you. So it goes well. So that's my sort of take-home message. If there's someone you love who's not been helped, consider seeing a homeopath. Maybe we can do the job if most other folk have failed. I mean, it's a sad reflection on developed countries in particular, how sick we are, how sick the general population. Well, I mean, I've become quite, perturbed at my clientele, because my speciality are difficult clients. So I get lots of difficult clients. I don't get easy clients with simple problems anymore. And so I've come to sort of feel like maybe the general population is like this. Well, the sick part of it is, and I like to hang out, therefore, with healthy people, to have fun with people who aren't encumbered with serious problems. And so someone asked me yesterday, what do you do when you're not working? I said, well, I'd like to hang out with well people and have fun and wholesome things like exercise and sport and stuff like that. Comes back to my motivation of wanting to help those who can't easily be helped. So I've chosen that, and I'm good at that. But can you imagine, it is a bit of a burden to deal with that day in, day out. That's why I have to look after myself, self-care. Jean calls it supervision, getting assistance to keep sane and well and healthy for my own continuity without burning out or stressing out. Jean has this role because of her expertise in governance to facilitate what we call professional supervision. Different from clinical supervision, this is helping students or practitioners with their own professional life, with their own mental health even, regarding listening to so many sad and tragic stories of people who've been sick and are asking for assistance. How many sad stories do you think I've heard over the last 38 years? A lot, right? So does any of that rub off on me? Sure, I pass them the tissues and use a few myself. So it's quite a touching profession, and that's why I say to students, okay, so if this is a 2-year program, you've got 2 years to work on yourself enough so that you don't get in the way of your professional life, your professional work on graduation, listening to other people. Because if they have an issue similar to your issues and they're telling you about this, it might trigger you and upset you, and it may affect your capacity to make them the center of the consultation. So I was a senior lecturer in the bioscience department of the Endeavour College of Natural Health for 8.5 years, teaching biosciences, and they would lend me out to the homeopathic department as well. But teaching anatomy physiology one year, there was a student in my class called Melissa Kupch, she is now. And I said to her, as I've said to a number of students over those years, you might make a good homeopath. And her reply was rather nonchalant. She hadn't really heard of homeopathy. She was in her second year of her naturopathic studies. And through her innocence and naivety, she said, I don't know what that is, but if you can help my younger sister, Ashley, who's a year younger, she's not been helped by most everyone. Their mutual father was a medical doctor. He hadn't been able to help Ashley. They'd been to a private hospital of credibility here in Brisbane, and they hadn't been able to help her, including leading specialists in the area of her dilemma, her health problems. They tried other natural therapies, acupuncture, naturopathy. They'd had a trip, they'd travelled, they'd stopped working, everything they could think of to make a difference, and no one had been able to help Ashley. So that was the challenge Melissa gave me. It's like the throwing down the gauntlet. Fix my sister. And if you do, I'll drop out of naturopathy and I'll change my modality and I'll study homeopathy. So we did. We had an interview. It was in a cafe in the valley. And I took the case. I worked out the prescription. I made up the medicine. It came a little 25 ml amber round dropper bottle. And Ashley took it and she got profoundly better. There was a significant response that is necessary to get better when you are so compromised, so ill as she was at the time. And she went through all of that to come out the other side, resolved, recovered, and restored. And Melissa saw all that, and she knew all the backstory. She knew of all the other failures and all the other attempts. So this was sufficiently convincing for her to say, wow, this did something for a difficult client, my beloved sister. So she was true to her word. She dropped out of naturopathy, switched over and did 2 more years of homeopathic training, finished with an advanced diploma of homeopathy, and graduated when she was in her early 20s. She then went on to have 3 young children with her partner, Matthew, and they got married, and she's specialized at first in infertility, working with couples, helping them with this issue. And she kept in touch with me as a mentor, as a supervisor, to help her with difficult cases and give her advice on tutoring her. And so I regularly would chat with her about clients' health problems, and she now says that was very valuable to her. She paid me for my time, so it was mutually beneficial, and she learned a lot, and now she says she almost learned as much, if not more, from my private tutorage than she learns in her formal training. And so it went on from there. She would refer me clients as well. Again, my speciality in difficult clients. She'd send me her difficult clients, and typically I would help them and they would get better. And that's when we started some of our short courses. We did some 12-session courses for practitioners, specializing in fertility, but generally about homeopathy. And we did several of these, and then we got to contemplate, well, shall we continue to do short education courses, or should we do something else? And we thought about, well, if we did something else, would we need more staff? And so I thought about the people I knew in the international homeopathic community, and I mentioned the name Jean Duckworth. Jean had been my tutor when I was doing my Masters of Science in Homeopathy at the University of Central Lancashire. It was a 3-year online master's program. And in my final year, my 3rd year, Jean was my tutor. And she marked my final dissertation. And I graduated with a Masters of Science in Homeopathy with merit. So Jean thought I was okay. I did a good job. Wrote a good thesis, was a good student, got good marks all the way through. And so I recommended Jean meet Melissa. They met virtually online, and they must have talked about all the options about education. But it was Jean who said to Melissa, you need to do something more significant. You need to go big, not small. And so that's where we got the idea of having a full professional qualification, which ended up being the 2-year advanced practitioner of homeopathy, and through the auspices of the Remedy Academy of Homeopathy. Both of those have been accredited by our own profession. The Australian Traditional Medicine Society, ATMS, have approved and accredited both, that the Remedy Academy of Homeopathy is an accredited education provider, and that this program, the Advanced Practitioner of Homeopathy, is a recognised and accredited course. So we have our own industry recognising us. This gives us legitimacy and authority and political credibility. We're good. Very good. We're the best. In fact, we are, numerically at least, the biggest homeopathic education provider in the world from the get-go, from September 2024. We have a very large number of students, and they're getting an excellent education, a modern education, not an industrial revolution education, a modern education. So Jean and I have tweaked all the bells and whistles we know about education, having been involved for so long, decades of education experience we've had, both of us, around the world, to come up with something novel and new and better than anything else we've ever seen and ever taught at ever before. So our students are very fortunate to have innovators in education, let alone innovators in homeopathy. We rock. Well, having devoted all of my professional life to this craft, to master homeopathy, to be the best physician I can possibly be, now I'm in my senior years, a senior homeopath and a professor now. I want to leave a legacy for the international homeopathic community, for the world, for the public, my students and my colleagues. And so that's why I was very keen to participate in something novel and new like the Remedy Academy of Homeopathy. We're doing something that no one else in the world has ever done before, and we think we're doing it better than anyone else, even though we are the new kids on the block. We've only been going since September 24, but our students give us excellent feedback, and particularly those students who've been elsewhere, done other things, spent time at university, colleges, different institutions, done all sorts of things, and they rave about us still. So we know we're doing something good. Our retention rate is excellent. Our dropout rate is tiny. We are retaining our students, and they're happy. And they're having great outcomes. We've started doing our clinical training, and we're seeing our novice students do amazing work. So we want to continue that, to translate that into what Melissa calls an army of graduate homeopaths, so that we can have a lot of homeopaths doing a lot of good work anywhere and everywhere around the world. Now, we're English speaking, and maybe that's our limitation, but that doesn't have to stop us. We're getting a clinical training facility here in Brisbane that's being built as we speak. Melissa has aspirations of turning her hinterland Sunshine Coast property. We call it, nicknamed the Remedy Ranch, into a facility as well for training and remediation, as well as education and rejuvenative agriculture, better agriculture, planting, growing things. So we've got something started. Melissa said big things about taking on the world. She's had a trip recently to 5 destinations in the United States. So we have aspirations for growth there, as well as probably the rest of the English-speaking world. Jean Duckworth and her connections in Great Britain and through Europe, we would have capacity to have outreach through there. Neighbouring countries like New Zealand as well, we've got outreach there, students there. So there's almost nowhere we couldn't go. We've got clients, patients and students in South America, Central America, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, Canada, United States, everywhere. So as we continue to roll out our program and continue, we expect things just to roll on as well as they have, and continue to innovate and bring in new ideas and train more students to be great graduates, great practitioners, anywhere and everywhere they want to be, using this modality of homeopathy. So we want to bring back homeopathy. It has had its heyday that has diminished, but the memory is still there. I think the older generation might know of its significance. It's been significant in Australia, in North America, in Great Britain. It still is significant in Europe. It's had aristocratic and royal patronage. It's been approved, so it's not nonsense. It's not placebo. It's not woo-woo. It's not ridiculous. It's actually a genuine competitor in the medical market. And we believe we've got something supremely special to offer the public at large to make a big difference in their health. Now, we respect our place. We're not greedy. We want to share the medical marketplace. Medical specialists, trauma wards, infectious disease control, surgical departments, they all have their place. But we want to practice, I guess, general medicine. And our speciality would probably be, in my opinion, difficult clients who aren't easily helped by most other modalities. So I think there's lots of those folk around. Easy clients are easy for anyone. So homeopathy can help them. We do great work with infectious disease control. We have clearly a great market in infertility and infertility, and all of the specializations from pregnancy all the way through to gerontology, senior folk. We can do it all. And in the United Kingdom, there still are homeopathic hospitals. In India, 14% of all hospital beds in India are homeopathic hospitals. India is a great case study for a country that is thoroughly engaged with homeopathy. They have over 200,000 homeopathic doctors who spent 5.5 years at university to get a Bachelor of Homeopathic Medicine and Surgery and are practicing in India. There are 15,000 homeopathic doctors in Brazil practicing in the language called Portuguese. So they are somewhat isolated than our English language biases, but it just gives you an example. There are countries in the world where homeopathy is still big, very big. And we want to bring that back to Australia, North America, United Kingdom, and Europe, anywhere else that would take us. We're ready. We're coming.